Good morning. It's Ladena Bough from Stockton, Missouri. We want to welcome you this morning. It's February the 15th. Yesterday I celebrated Singleness Day, Single Awareness Day after my husband's death. But it's fine. Some of the others around here brought me a box of chocolate this morning. And if Cindy had been closer, we would have got you chocolate too, Cindy. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Well, today we're going to probably get on some people. We're going to pick some scabs off of some people, probably, and we don't want to make anybody bleed, but our country's in trouble. If you don't look at what's going on around you and figure out what's happening in our world, we're never going to save our nation. And, that's important to me. I love my United States. I know Cindy does. She's a military, she was a military wife. Her mother was a Marine. And, the military people specifically, they love our country. And the rest of us ought to be too. But, we are unfortunately going completely against how our nation was established. And one of the things that's irritating me at the moment was the fact that at the Super Bowl, they said that we had two national anthems. We have one national anthem in this country, and that's all it is.
That's right.
One national anthem. And to have a song, a beautiful hymn, come on and declare it to be the Black national anthem. Now, I know where that came from. That doesn't disturb me, because it started out, it was written back in 1900 by two brothers. And it was written as a hymn, but, they still use it and they want to call it the Black national anthem because it says it provides hope that America still has something to offer Black Americans despite everything they lost in the Civil War and so forth. It was a rallying cry for the civil rights movement. That's fine. But don't call it a national anthem. You're creating division. All the blacks have this as a national anthem and the whites have this as a national anthem. That's not correct in our country. What did you think about it, Cindy?
Well, I'm in the same mind as you, and here we go, putting on the pastoral patriot, the black robe of regimen, if you will. Division is what the enemy will use continuously because unity frightens him. And that is exactly what's being pushed all through this country. If you look, there's division here, there's division here, there's division over here, there's division over here, and labels. Everybody is labels and division. This national anthem, there's only one national anthem, and that is our national anthem that has been there for many, many, many years. This one
came about in the Revolutionary War.
Exactly. It was written. It was written when we had that the battle in Maryland, and everything. If you pardon me, if you read the story about that, what Francis Scott Key was writing, and you listen to the whole song, they just took out the part of it. We only use just the main verse in that. But if you read the whole, everything that Francis Scott Key wrote, he was talking about when he was on the other boat, and the guys that were sick, that couldn't fight, kept sending him up and going, are we winning? Are we losing? And all they kept asking was, is our flag still there? Is our flag still up? Is our flag still there? And that meant that if the flag was still up, they haven't taken us down, and it's tattered and beaten up as our flag was on that battle. When the battle was over, the men asked him, "Is our flag still there?" And he said, "Yep, our flag is still there." And that's all they needed to know. We did not, we were not defeated. That flag was still flying up, even if it was burned and just kind of pretty
Maybe it
much,
had holes in it, but it
hanging
was
in
still
chairs.
ours. It was still ours. It
That's
was
it.
still
So
waiting.
it was
You
still
know,
flying, and that's the essence. That's the essence of what an American is. And if these people took a look at that and said, "Well, you're an American too, so why are you cutting yourself out of this and putting yourself over here when, you know, we fought that battle was fought for all of us. We're
hmm
an American. You're an American. You know, these people that say, well, I'm I'm this American, I'm this American. That would be no different from me going, well, I'm an Ulster Scot American. It's like, no, you were born in America. You have that uh, what do you call it? That genealogy or whatever within you in that DNA, but that doesn't make
hmm
you're American.
Yeah.
Be American.
Yeah. Be American.
That's it.
Let's get this
Be Am-
country back together. This division that we're um, creating is hurting ourselves, hurting our churches, hurting our country, hurting our government. And we see that the government a
Amen.
lot of times is creating this division. And, that's,
Yep.
I can't figure it out. Okay. and,
Yeah, yeah. It's
you know,
it's but what was I just gonna say? It came in and it flew right out. Uh oh yeah. When they tried to say that that America is not based on a biblical foundation, it very much is. Because remember when I did a couple episodes about the tears, and I
yes.
talked about how how did that happen? Because they fell asleep. They got comfortable. They were not paying attention. They let it come in and let the tears uh, be, the seed be put in the good ground. And Jesus talks about be prepared,
hmm
pay attention, stay awake. Um, and then you look over, and if you read George Washington's farewell address, excellent. There's a big part in there where he says, be vigilant, that and pay attention, so to speak, that the ugly head of tyranny is just waiting to
hmm
come back up again and take control. Make sure you're always on watch. You're always watching. Well, guess what? Because America is so great, has wonderful things. Guess what happened? The spirit of distraction came in.
hmm
TVs. I
Right.
think the biggest thing was cell phones because nobody's looking up anymore. Everybody's like this. Even walking, even criminals have said robbing a woman and stealing her purse is so easy today because they're not paying attention to what's in the parking lot. They're just staring at
Right.
their phone. So everybody got distracted, and what happened? Here comes tyranny going, oh, 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 we got a
Yep.
space, we got a spot, and we can't get it out. We can't get it out now.
And one of the other areas that they're attacking us, so, Satan is attacking us, whether you want to believe it or not, but we're being attacked. And most of it's coming from inside our country. Politicians and left wing, right wing groups, left wing groups, it's like, why can't you guys figure out how to talk to one another? And one of the main areas that they're destroying our nation happens to be in our schools. You know, Proverbs 22:6 says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, even when he is old, he will not depart from it." that should be a blessing to most people and to most Christians. They would consider that a blessing, but that can also be a
Mm,
curse. How have
yeah.
you raised up your children? Have you raised them up to go out and protest and do all the smash and grab robberies and so forth? Have they seen you doing this all the time? Are you using drugs and so forth? Well, you've raised your child up in that fashion and, taken away anything biblical from that family. And then you wonder why your
Yep.
kids are out murdering people. Or, I've seen where teenage girls beat each other up. There was a 14-year-old girl who beat up a teacher. She's in a hospital. She may never walk again. You know,
Oh,
why are
yeah.
we allowing
I
this
think
in
I
our
saw that.
schools?
Yeah.
They go ahead.
No, no, I'm just agreeing. It's got really, really bad. And uh, there are parents now. I was just reading about, I don't know if you've heard of Matt Walsh.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's with the Daily Caller, but I was reading something that Matt Walsh had posted, and he said, I don't allow my kids to watch TV. My kids do not have a cell phones. My kids are not allowed. They just like we used to. They go out and play. They have an imagination, and they're not distracted with the cell phones. And he said, one of his sons is building had the blueprints and his design, and he's kind of younger, building a tree house. And he said, that's what kids are supposed to do. That's what
Mm-hmm.
kids are supposed to do. And these girls that are tomboys, how many girls have gone through that phase where they're a tomboy? They don't like to wear dresses. They like to hang out with the boys or their brothers, put their hair up in a
Mm-hmm.
ponytail, and go play baseball or whatever they do.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean they're a boy.
No, that doesn't
It
make
just
them a
means
boy in any respect.
that's how
That's
they
just a point in life that they're going through right now.
exactly,
You know,
exactly. And see, I think the enemy is on full force, with this generation to destroy him. So no one uh, can bring, no one can grow up giving their life to Christ and passing it on and going on. And so tried their best to destroy it. They've already through abortion have already killed off half of a generation. There's so
yeah,
much missing.
and
You
they
know.
don't remember where the abortion stuff started and who started this and what was her thought process at that point. I mean, she was not a nice person. The what was her name? Margaret Sanger or somebody with the Planned
Oh.
Parenthood. Let's put all
Oh.
those
Yeah.
abortion clinics in the black neighborhoods, and we can kill them all off.
Oh,
They're
Margaret Sanger.
mhm.
Margaret Sanger. She evil, evil woman. She was one of those ones who were for natural selection.
Mhm.
To pick out only the best. Very, very had thoughts like Hitler did. And then even not it was meant to attack the black culture, but then she started going into if your child was born mentally handicapped,
Mhm.
sterilize the child and
Yep.
sterilize the parents so they can't bring in another mentally handicapped child. And
And
where they
we
got
used
the
to do that in
idea,
this country. We
yeah,
used to
and where they
sterilize
got the
the mentally disabled.
yeah, yeah, or abort them, and then where they got the idea that Down syndrome babies should not be do not deserve to be on the planet and grow up to be adults. I don't know who came up with that. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
who
know
came up
Down
with that.
syndrome boys who own their own restaurants, and they work plenty of jobs. They get married to, they probably marry somebody else with Down syndrome, but they have a full life. They
Exactly.
contribute to society, and
Exactly. Exactly.
it's
That's
ridiculous.
that's it is. It is. And I seen a picture where they were comparing children, and they said children back in the day, and you see they had their jeans, a baseball hat on, fishing pole. Somebody else had, their baseball bat, and that were kids, and they were standing by their bike. Then they
Mm-hmm.
showed another child, same age, makeup, drugged out, and drag queen, young child, same age. You've seen that little boy that they parade around,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and who was it?
Get him to dancing
Ellen.
in the street and get some money, put in his little
Yeah,
G-string.
yes, the
What are you
little
doing
boy.
to children?
Yeah,
Yes.
it makes you wonder what's wrong with the parents. What did you do to your son? You're healthy. They're not born that way. They're not born
No,
that way, as you can see. They have to be made that way, and they're going, "Oh, I was always like that." No, you weren't. No, you weren't, because
no.
God doesn't make mistakes.
God
You
put
know?
you in that body for a purpose. He made you a certain way, and that's what he wanted. And you see a lot of articles these days about parents who, like one specifically, the little girl was going through a tomboy phase. And so, because of all the stuff on the news and all the stuff in the articles, she decided that her little girl was going to be a little boy. Well, they never did anything as far as chemical treatments and stuff like that. She just came out and said she was a boy. Well, now the little girl wants to be a girl again. And she said, trying to get out of that mindset of getting everybody else out of the mindset of this girl being a boy is kind of like leaving a cult. She said it's horrible. Everybody is on her all the time, says she needs to leave her little girl as a boy and everything. And she's getting feedback and blowback from all over, and said it's like a cult. And I believe that,
Yep.
they
Oh
don't
yeah.
want you to get out of that mindset, and then
No, no.
when our own government officials are attacking a family unit, one guy came out and said um, that families, children are safest in a family home that has a mother and a father. And state representative up in South Dakota came back and said she described the notion that children are safest in a family with a married mother and father as dangerous and an un-American belief. I don't believe that. I'm not falling for this lie, okay? Families
No,
are
that's
not
not.
an un-American belief. And they elected her. Why would they do that? If you're going to attack the
Is
family,
this
why?
is this Christy Noam who said that?
No, it was Representative Aaron Healy, a Democrat out of South Dakota.
Oh, because I was going to say Christy Noam is all pro family. She's pro
Hmm.
God, pro family. Yeah, but see, more it's when you here we go. When you see Democrats, okay? When I've said before that what's within inside of them that hate will manifest itself out physically. If you even glanced at the State of the Union, did you see the appearances of the Democrats? I mean, some of the most evil, ugly looking people I know, and just sporting pins, wearing abortion. And
Hmm.
I thought, that hate, that ugly, is just manifested itself out in their faces and their attitudes. But everything that they do, divide, divide, divide. They want the power, they want the control. Now, this whole thing of uh, this wanting to break the what it comes down to is everything that God made beautiful. They're throwing grenades on it and trying to blow it up and
Yep.
saying no, that's bad, making bad good and good bad, that sort of thing. And
We have that warning in
well,
Scripture. Don't allow that to happen. And when we get to the end times, which we're pretty doggone close as far as I'm concerned, um, people will be calling evil good and good evil,
Good.
and
Yep.
that's what we're seeing on a daily basis in our country and around the world.
Yep.
Nobody is
Yep.
opening their eyes to what is actually happening. One of the I
Exactly.
had a
Ex-
piece of an article written by A.W. Tozer, The Gift of Prophetic Insight. And he said, what God says to the church at any given time period depends altogether upon her moral and spiritual condition and upon the spiritual need of the hour. Religious leaders who continue to mechanically expound the scriptures without regard to the current religious situation are no better than the scribes and lawyers of Jesus' day, who faithfully parroted the law without the remotest notion of what was going on around them. The prophets never made that mistake, nor wasted their efforts in that manner. They invariably spoke to the condition of the people of their times. The church might take right ground in regard to politics. Do not suppose now that I am preaching a political sermon, or that I wish to have you get up a Christian party in politics. No, I don't not believe that. But the time has come that Christians must vote for honest men and take consistent ground in politics, or the Lord will curse them. They must be honest men themselves, and instead of voting for a man because he belongs to their party, they must find out whether he is honest and upright and fit to be trusted. Such is the spread of intelligence and the facility of communication in our country that every man can know for whom he gives his vote. And if he will give his vote for only honest men, the country will be obliged to have upright rulers. All parties will be compelled to put up honest men as candidates. Christians have been exceedingly guilty in this matter, but the time has come when they must act differently, or God will curse the nation and withdraw his spirit. The church isn't, not standing up for the things that are wrong in our country right now. You know, we've got too
Exactly.
much
Yep.
silence in the pulpit. When you stop teaching on
That's
sin,
it.
you still got to teach on sin. You still got to give them a right mindset and tell them what the Lord actually says. I mean, we got to stop the parties on a Sunday morning.
Exactly. Exactly. Just that just lines up with what I just said on my show about that. They are taking sin, which is outright sin, and they're calling it a counseling issue. Oh,
Mhm.
stroking it, and there, and it's like they're sinning. It's sin.
Mhm.
We don't coddle sin,
You
but
know,
that's what they're doing now, and it's just it's grown like mold, or like a virus, bacteria,
yeah,
and
I've seen where schools are um, being attacked by the states that they're in for suspending students who are disruptive and start fights in the classroom and do all this stuff. They don't want you to do that. Don't suspend them. Who's going to reprimand them? Who's going to make them learn if you just let everything roll off and say it's okay? There's no reason for that. There's no reason for us to have to deal with, well, for our girls having to deal with boys who are in the girls' restroom or the girls' locker rooms and so forth. I've seen more articles
exactly.
about girls being attacked sexually and molested because of some guy who said he was a girl and he came into the restroom. You know, don't anybody
Yeah.
go into the restroom behind my granddaughters, because if I'm right there, I mean, we're going to have a problem.
Yay,
you know?
amen. Oh yeah, if I see some guy following some little girl, unless it's her father and she knows that, but I mean, it's become so sick and perverted is what you're seeing in this division, and those that are going, this is sick, this is perverted. They have taken these people that they were able to distract and stuff growing up. We are seeing, what we're seeing now is all those tears that were sown.
Hmm.
And I'm going to say it way back, like with Obama, maybe even a little bit further, that quietly, while distracting, sowing tears, sowing tears. And, people didn't even it makes me question now how many false flags were pulled way before people really started to look and go, that's a false flag.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing
Yeah.
this. What are you distracting me from? And I'm telling you,
It's
what is
hard to keep
happening
track of
now?
everything there. It's hard to keep track
Yeah,
of everything they're trying to distract us from, okay?
exactly. Now, here in my state, they had an active shooter at Michigan State University.
Mhm.
I I question it. I immediately question it. Why? Because I'm so used to false flags and diversion. I know what I did here. That Biden wants our guns. Wants the
Yeah.
guns. This governor here wants the guns. And it would not put anything past that this was. Now, don't get me wrong, what I'm saying here, people do get killed and hurt in false flag operations, but
Yeah.
it's to push an agenda. And they tried to do it with that school down in Texas, and
Mhm.
it didn't work. And because they were able to do that, I know it's sad and everything, but this Michigan has turned to be has become quite democratic, and I mean even more so. But there's a lot of people that are fighting back. But when I see this, I feel bad. But my my discernment is like porcupine quills. Like, you know what? I'm not saying nothing. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to watch and see
Mhm.
how this turns
Well, they
out.
had to have a
But
shooting, they had to have that
yeah,
shooting so they could distract him from burning off all the, chemicals from the derailment in Ohio, and what they
yes,
burned off, they pretty much nuked an entire town by doing that, because what they burned off was used as a weapon in World War One, and it stops the breathing. And so right now it's like everybody get out of New Palestine, Ohio, and the breeze is taking it all over into Pennsylvania too. So we basically caused a um, nuclear fallout situation for the most part. you know, but
yeah.
oh, I forgot to turn my
The
ringer
poor
off on my
animals.
yeah,
They um. So what we when I was talking with you last, you made some really great points about the 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 textbooks and
yeah,
the curriculum that is going on in the schools
yeah.
that you were talking to me about.
They don't have any. They don't teach cursive writing anymore. Okay, they took it out, and it was kind of tied in with the Common Core stuff that they started pushing in 2010. And you know, I know that there's certain countries that you can go to, and you want to open a bank account, you can't print your name. They may one guy I knew, he was in the military, they told him to sign his name on his bank card, and they told him it didn't have enough flourishes, so his signature now has these great big loops and so forth on it. But the children in our schools, tell me that they can't read our founding documents, okay? There's no way they can read them because they can't read cursive writing. Fine, it's kind of like reading the King James version, and some people don't understand it. So if you don't understand the King James version of the Bible, fine, go find one you can understand. English Standard,
Exactly.
NIV, whatever. But they say that we don't have to worry about our kids being able to read cursive writing because everything's already been transcribed and put down somewhere in New Times Roman font or whatever. Who transcribed it? Can you trust the person that put it there? I want to see the original.
Exactly.
Uh-huh. I want to
Exactly.
know exactly what it says. I don't need somebody else's version of what it says. Did they put all the words in, or did they take out the ones that they found offensive? You can't
Exactly.
trust the transcription of a lot of things anymore. Our children need to
Exactly.
know how to read cursive writing. If they never write it, they still need to know how to read it. And that's the only
Exactly.
way. you know.
Yep. Yep. That's
It's one of those
exactly it. And
things.
I think that those books are being put in the schools to young children is because behind the scenes they're
Mhm.
really truly trying to push
Yep.
pedophilia as a thing that it should be allowed. And it's the most sickest, disgusting thing. And for people to do that, and the the worst kind of grooming, and you would not think that you would see that kind of uh, behavior being allowed in the schools with these
Mhm.
kind of books. I can remember when my youngest sister was going to school. She brought home a Christmas book, and one of the pages it showed a picture of Santa sitting on the toilet. My mom took that book from my sister, and when she took her into the library and said, "Children are not to be seen. What is this book?" And they pulled the book. They pulled the
Mhm.
book just like that. And what the books that they've got inside there now, and it's like, why these kids don't even understand what you're doing. They don't even know
Yeah.
what it is. You know what? You're trying to show them sex positions, and they say, "I want to go play with my new dolls. I want to go
Yeah.
outside and play, play this or play that." And they're like, "No, but look at this." And it's like, don't want
Mhm.
to, you know. And
Yeah, 'cause they've got books in the schools now from, well, they're trying to teach sex education all K through 12. Now they start out kind of mellow, right? But by the second grade, you're getting full frontal nudity. And
excuse
by
me.
the third grade, they're talking about sexual positions, whether you're male and female or male on male or female on female, and, teaching this stuff. Those kids don't even know what that's about. They don't care what that's about at that age. You need to,
Exactly. Ex-
uh, that's something I feel like needs to be taught in the home. Okay. This is not
exact.
something,
Yeah. Yeah.
whenever I was
Yeah.
in school, whenever we talked about female function and women functions and so forth, they separated the class. Okay, the boys went over here and the girls went over here in this room, and it was okay. We were fine. We found out what our bodies did, but now they are
Yep.
specifically have in the textbooks that most males have this particular body part, and most females have this particular body part. We have females that have other things. And no, that's not the case. If you
No.
have a
No.
dangly part down there, you're not a girl. And
Exactly.
if you're
Exactly.
menstruating, you are not a boy. That's all there is to it.
Exactly. But they think they've got, and this is the kicker. How long has it been since, we wish that we had full uh, pad and tampon machines in women's bathrooms? They never had them, where they were always empty or broken.
Hmm.
Men have pads and tampons in their bathrooms in
Yeah.
areas.
And I
And
forget what state it
um,
is, but one state just banned urinals in the school bathrooms. You can't have a urinal in a boy's bathroom anymore.
you know, yeah, what do they? So they sit down. I mean, that's just now. What was the other thing? Yeah, the governor wants to pass a bill. He's trying to pass a bill right now here in Michigan that business owners and schools must accommodate trans children, and they must accommodate furries. That is
Yeah,
utterly
that's
ridiculous saying.
totally ridiculous on the furries.
Yeah, you must have a litter box in your classroom or in your place of business to accommodate a furry. So I'm like, okay, so you're telling me this person, human being, that's dressed up like a cat or a dog or whatever animals they think that they are, and they come into my place of business, and they're in front of everybody, are going to go over to that litter box and do their thing in front of everyone, and then just get no, that ain't happening. And if it's, if I had a place of business, I'm allergic to cats. There ain't no cat litter box in my business, but it's It's the thought of it. It's a human being pretending to be, and it's almost like they're embracing that sickness. This is what I'm talking
Mhm.
about. They're embracing it. Well, they believe this is what they believe, and it's like it's a mental illness. It's a spirit. It needs to be cast out. Anoint their head with oil and cast that sucker out. Get them in church.
Mhm.
But this is where they want to stroke the mental illness and say, oh, there, it's okay. We will accommodate it. We'll fluff it up like a, big fluffy pillow in there. Everything is good. And it's like, you know, back in the day, the dads would go, what are you doing? Get that stuff off of you. Get out there and
I don't
take the
think my
garbage out
father
and
would
stuff.
allow me out of the house dressed like a cat. If it was not Halloween, I would not be out of the house dressed like a cat.
Exactly, exactly. It's just that's what I'm saying. That and it's almost like they're doing it on purpose so that they're so they're so uh um obsessed with that
Mhm.
lifestyle and living there. They're not paying attention to anything. And the biggest thing that they're not paying attention to is the condition of their spirit,
Right.
that they are just destined to go to hell
Well, they
because
push
they're
critical race theory so much these days that if you say something about a furry or anybody else, they're taught to hate you in school. Okay, critical race theory is teaching division and hate against one another, and we can't have that in this country. We're going to destroy ourselves from within, which was warned about George Washington, Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson. All of them warned about the
yeah.
destruction would come from within. And
Well, yeah.
um, I love this. This was written by come on, phone, work for me. Charles Finney in 1873. And since we're running low on time here, I wanted to read it. And the title is "The Pulpit is Responsible." Brethren, our teaching will bear its legitimate fruits. If immorality prevails in the land, the fault is ours in a great degree. If there is a decay of conscience, the pulpit is responsible for it. If the public press lacks moral discrimination, the pulpit is responsible for it. If the church is degenerate and worldly, the pulpit is responsible for it. If the world loses its interest in religion, the pulpit is responsible for it. If Satan rules in our halls of legislation, the pulpit is responsible for it. If our politics become so corrupt that the very foundations of our government are ready to fall away, the pulpit is responsible for it. Let us not ignore this fact, my dear brethren, but let us lay it to heart and be thoroughly awake to our responsibility in respect to the morals of this nation. I can't think of a more true
Amen.
statement. You know, um,
Amen. Amen.
when our churches refuse to teach on sin, when they refuse to address the hatred and division in our country, and we allow uh, so many groups to splinter off, and they don't even consider themselves American, but they're going to take us over. You know, um, they want to fight everything our nation was established on. You know, that the pulpit's responsible. You know, you should be bringing
Absolutely.
people in. You should be training them up in the way they should go. And if we allow them to be trained up the way they are right now and allow the hate and discontent everywhere in our schools and so forth, that's our responsibility, and we're going to reap what we sow.
Absolutely.
Our
Absolutely. That's
nation
why
deserves better.
that's what's happened today though. The churches, we need to stand up. The body of Christ, the ecclesia, they
Hmm.
need to stand up and combat at this. But the problem is, the people aren't ready for that. People aren't ready. There's so many people here that they call themselves Christians, but they look so much like the world that you can't tell the difference. And
Right.
so, uh, what happens with all of that? We've got to. we've got to stand. We've got to stand up and stand against that. We have to. The church has got to rise up. It's become so limp wristed. Oh, everybody will hate me. Everybody will leave my church if I start talking like that. Nobody will sit here. And, what will I end up having? I only have like 3 or 5 people that will be a church, maybe 100 if that. I'll lose everybody if I start talking that way. That's hateful. We don't want to spread hate. And it's like, it's not hateful. And that's the problem that we have with the churches. That's why we have to, if you have that burning within you, you have got to stand up. You have got
Hmm.
to go, you know what? I don't care that I'm hated. I don't care
Yeah.
because I'm
You
going to
know,
preach the truth.
our little church up there in Stockton, Missouri, we went for probably 10 years with just two of us in church every day, every Sunday, but two or more are gathered. Christ is there. We knew the
Amen.
Holy Spirit was there. And as we continue to be faithful to that little church, it's still there. And it's been there since 1904. So, people have to teach the truth. And if you lose a few butts in your seat, well, that's okay. If they want to go on somewhere else, you pray for them as they leave. But stop just counting the butts in the seat and start thinking about the ultimate outcome of what's going to happen here in this world and teach them.
Exactly.
So, anyway, we're out of time. Jody has not waved at me yet,
Huh?
but I looked at the clock. Anyway,
That went
I think,
fast.
yeah, I did. Didn't touch on half the stuff I wanted to this morning, so we'll have to do it again
Save
one day.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Well,
you know what? You can teach on that. You can teach on that next week.
we might have to
You
do
got
that.
that fire. You will
Okay. Well,
have to.
thanks for
Don't
joining.
you, I'm sorry?
I said thank you for joining me this morning.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It was a
Mhm.
pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
You have to understand, Cindy and I have these conversations a lot on the phone. So, anyway, it's been a
Yeah.
wonderful day. We hope you join us all